Today and ask Reddit. Ladies, can you share examples of when you hit on men and they were clueless? Like, how often do you flirt with men you're interested in and it just fails? And they're unaware you're hitting on them. What do you usually do that you feel most men don't pick up on? I drove 5.5 hours to hang out, no big deal, hahaha. This one hurt to read. And I'm sure he's still clueless, oh well. A girl I worked with invited me back to her place to sample a cake she had made. We get to her place, and she explains that she just needs to frost it before we eat. Proceeds to ice the cake, periodically dipping her finger in the bowl, and getting me to taste it. After a few rounds of this, she then dips her finger in the bowl, and proceeds to porn star suck a gigantic amount of icing off it. Me. Yeah, looks good. We ate cake, and I left. 19-year-old me was fucking stupid, laughing my ass off. I had the hots for this guy. Very attractive, intelligent, talented, hilarious, the works. And we were close friends. I would look at him from across the room, smile at him and make stupid faces. I would come and hug him when it was cold or I was just bored or whatever. I complimented him and listened to his stories about his childhood and him opening up about abuse and all that. But he had no clue I liked him. I spent weeks doing these things. And so did many other girls. But he was totally clueless and thought they were all just being friendly. He had low self-esteem. So one day we were alone and I just kissed him. And it blew his mind. And then we started dating and we haven't stopped for 2 years. When I was 17 I met a guy at a house party who was super cute and very quiet. I found out from our mutual friends that he had never had a girlfriend. He was very lovely to everyone and seemed to not pick up any signal I gave him. That night I spent an unusual amount of time with him in comparison to others, laid next to him on our friend's trampoline, and chatted about our lives and interests, even jokingly and drunkenly, sat on his lap at one point. I was not too long out of a relationship, young, drinking and uber confident that night. I flirted almost the whole way through with constant innuendos, little jokes and compliments. As things were wrapping up and some people started going, with still a significant group there, I asked him if he would be staying late with everyone or heading home. He said he wasn't sure, and then offered to walk his friend home, another girl, long-term friend with no romantic feelings, and just said an awkward goodbye to me. Luckily I thought it was cute he was making sure his friend got home safely, and his friend pointed out the obvious to him. She asked why he didn't try and kiss me or ask for my number, and had to spell out to him all the obvious moves I'd made that night. When he came back he made an effort to find me again, and we had our first kiss. 8 years later we are married and expecting our first child. I can't thank his friend enough. I wonder how long I would have had to chase or if I would have just given up. To this day when we recall that night with our friends, all of them say they don't understand how he could have been so oblivious, but because he wasn't used to the attention he just assumed I was just very nice, and was maybe like that with everyone. Me reading 90% of these comments. Well, none of this makes sense. How is he supposed to know? Also me. Well, shit. One night at a party I was very high. This girl who I had been talking to comes up next to me and says you're really hot. My dumbest brain mishears her, and I responded with no, I'm really high. Took me until the next morning to register what she really said. I was driving a girl back to her place twice after parties. She asked me twice if I want to go in and drink something. I responded twice nah, it's too late, I just want to go to bed. Well, wasn't the brightest with 18. Coffee? It's 2 a.m. Jessica, I will be up all night. Am no lady, but I look back at some spots that I was ridiculously clueless. I was a virgin up till the end of college. One of these clueless examples, I am moving into a dorm, and my friend is helping me. She goes all out and stays basically the whole day helping go from apartment to dorm. At the end at night we are done and I'm sitting on the table helping her with math, and she is standing leaning over my shoulder. At some point she goes and bites my neck. I'm like ooh, why did you do that? And she is giggling and says I'm gonna sleep over, okay? And I'm like sure you can sleep on my bed and I'll sleep on the floor, and she mumbles that's not what I meant. Leaves shortly afterwards. These are the moments I would like to take back. Haha. BF comes home from work, is removing belt to change into comfy clothes. Me. I ain't the belt duo, what you gonna do with that? By him. Hang it up. Me. And no spanks were given that night. F equals respect. When I was about 16 I was at a friend's birthday party. She had friends from out of town visiting. One of the girls was cute and we talked for pretty much the entire night. She gave naive 16-year-old me every sign that she was into me. I thought she was just friendly. At one point we are sitting in the back of the room watching a movie with everyone, and she started showing me how her Velcro fly on her pants was so easy to open. She opened and closed it in front of me multiple times. I mean, Velcro is cool, but it's not that different from a regular fly. Too ugly to relate to these stories. The only reason I visit dating advice is because my love life is poor as fuck and I feel pleasure to read about other people's experiences. This is the saddest thing I've read in months. Don't worry, everyone feels like they'll be alone forever until all of a sudden they're not, if that makes sense. One time I was on a casual dinner date with a Vietnamese girl. We were talking about Vietnamese food, and I mentioned banh miss. When I did, she told me, it's actually pronounced banh mi. And I took it seriously. Oh wow, I never realized it was pronounced that way. Thanks for telling me. I did not realize until weeks later what she was actually hinting at. There was a very nice looking man at the deli section of my grocer. I walked up, gave him some side eyes and a smile, and then said bacon. He turned and walked away. I haven't tried to pick up any guys with meat-related lines again. Are you messing with me? Laughing out loud. I don't recall this happening, by the way. Live down the street from a guy. He texted me late. We met up at a bar. He invited me back to his place. We were just hanging out joking around, and all signs pointed to him being into me. Finally it's 4 a.m, started snowing outside, and I'm so tired I can barely stay awake. I give in and tell him I'm going home. He walks me to the door and I say, you know, I don't have to go home. If you'd like I could sleep here. He says, oh right, you mean because it's snowing and you wouldn't want to walk home? I said, no dude, I live right down the street. He said, oh, sorry. No, I guess not, and I left. It wasn't that he didn't get it, he just wasn't interested. I always find it funny when men act like women don't know what denial feels like. Feels bad, man, but life keeps on. This rendition of Baby, It's Cold Outside was terrible. But filled to the brim with consent. It's a millennial carol. I like guys who don't realize I'm flirting. First time this happened was a boy who we flirted for about 6 months. The flirtation was so hard we were dating without kissing. I ended up asking him out and he turned me down. Reason, he would be too busy. This ruined the amazing thing we had because he made it awkward. But I already knew how busy he was and understood that. If he would have just said yes, I would have been content for the relationship to continue almost the way it was, but disappearing occasionally on Spear to kiss a bit. 17, slightly religious at the time, sex was off the table. Now for the current relationship story. I had joined an online D&D group. One of the members is my now husband. The DM forced us to combine our backstories. We ended up talking about our characters and how they knew each other outside of session. Without ever having seen his face, I knew I liked him. He was sweet and kind and we got along so well. One night we spent the whole night talking, me flirting. From that night on we messaged non-stop. All day every day, voice calls and eventually video calls at night. On day we were messaging about how happy we made each other. He brought up that his coworker actually had a nickname for me. I had to push him on what the nickname was, his girlfriend, then indicate I wanted that for him to ask me out that night. We meet in person for the first time 9 months later. Well, as has been almost a year since we meet in person, plans to close the gap permanently are in place for May. Thank you for listening. Subscribe and check the description for more Reddit post heart. Daily Spice winky face.